specifically welcome every single person that is here. Thank you very much for coming in time. Please, can we put our hands together for ourselves? It's my honor to be the host for today's event. I am Damilola Busari. A round of applause, please. Please be informed, ladies and gentlemen, that we have a day of brilliant conversations planned out for you. How many of us were here yesterday? If you were here yesterday, please, a show of hands. And how was it? It was fantastic. There were a lot of interesting and engaging conversations, and we believe that it's going to get only better. I'd like us to please rise as we take the NBA prayer together. Can we please rise as we take the NBA prayer? Almighty God, our Creator, we pray you to be with us in all our deliberations and to direct our endeavors, so that we shall continue in all humility to glorify thy name and do that which is right and just for our profession, its members, our fellow men, and our country. Amen. Thank you very much. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. We have a number of conversations and discussions lined up for us today. We have 3 panel sessions, and we also have a debate at the end of the day that I believe is going to be almost the most engaging part of our conversation today. The first panel session will be speaking about addressing brain drain, mitigating the impact on Nigerian law firms. During the second panel session, we'll be exploring the future of law in Nigeria, expanding practice areas. And on the third panel session, we'll be looking at the role of in-house counsel in navigating cross-border transactions. For the first panel session, I'm honored to bring up the session coordinator, Ms. Hassana Barnabas Agbada. A round of applause for her, please. She's a senior associate at THTS Practice. You would agree with me that the Japa syndrome has been quite a thing. How many of us have friends and colleagues who are no longer in the country? At this point, I think every hand should be up. If there's any hand down, I have to ask where you're from. And I'm sure that our panelists would do justice to the topic. A round of applause once more for Ms. Hassana Barnabas Agbada, the session coordinator. A rousing ovation, please. I know it's a cold morning in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. So I'll be introducing the moderator for this session, in the person of Mr. Olumayowa Owolabi. Olumayowa Owolabi is a product of the prestigious Loyola College, Ibadan. He holds a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Ilorin and Masters of Law degree in International Trade and Maritime from the University of Essex. He is the managing partner and head of the firm's energy group. His deep involvement in energy and maritime matters has earned him appointment on the board of several leading Nigerian maritime companies. Please, a round of applause for our moderator, Mr. Mayowa Owolabi. Please keep clapping until he's up here. Thank you. The next person I'll be introducing to this panel is Mr. Akindeji Oyebode. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Akindeji Oyebode as he comes up stage. Mr. Akindeji Oyebode is a partner in the Energy and Natural Resources Practice Group of Banwan Igodalo, BNI. Akindeji has been ranked as a next generation partner by the Legal 500 and as a rising star partner by IFLR 100. Please give him a resounding applause once more. Our next panelist is Mrs. Odunola Onadipe. Mrs. Odunola Onadipe is the current president of the Association of Law Firm Administrators, Nigeria, and the chief operating officer at Detail Commercial Solicitors. She is a human resource professional with over 24 years experience working in a wide range of industries, FMCG, public sector, banking, consulting, and legal. Please, a hand of applause for Mrs. Odunola Onadipe as she comes up stage. Please don't stop clapping until she's up here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Our next panelist is no other but Mr. Adedapo Tunde Olowu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Olowu as he comes up stage. Mr. Olowu is a Senior Advocate of Nigeria with almost 4 decades experience in commercial litigation and arbitration. He is qualified to practice law in Nigeria and in England and Wales. He is the managing partner of the prestigious firm Alex. Another round of applause for him, please. The final member of this panel this morning, the last but definitely not the least, is Mrs. Temitope Shoderu, ACIS. Please, a round of applause for her. Temitope is a distinguished graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University and holds a master's degree from the University of Lagos. She has acquired numerous certifications, including a fintech certification from Harvard. Her extensive experience in real estate and banking has significantly contributed to her professional growth. Currently, she serves as the Deputy Manager of Legal Services at First Trust Mortgage Bank, PLC. Thank you very much. Please don't stop clapping as I yield to the moderator, Mr. Mayowa Olabi. Thank you. Have a fulfilling session.
Thank you very much, Asana. Good morning, distinguished members of the Lagos branch of the NBA. It's a great honor for us to be here this morning. And as you're aware, we will be talking to you today about addressing brain drain and mitigating the impact on Nigerian law firms and legal service providers. Looking at the topic as it were, you clearly understand what we're here to discuss as a panel. Except you're living in a hole, you'll be familiar with the Jagba syndrome. It's an issue that we're all dealing with in Nigeria at the moment. And essentially, it's not a legal problem alone. But this panel will be discussing how it affects us as legal practitioners and law service providers. The challenges that it creates to us as professionals, the challenges that it creates to the economy, the challenges that it creates to Nigeria generally. So we'll be addressing brain drain. And I have the distinguished honor of having a stellar array of personnel who are here today who will be addressing it. And it's a mix of people who are practicing law and also people who are in-house counsel. I would start naturally with Learned Senior Advocate Mr. Adedapo Tunde Olowu for obvious reasons. He's been doing this for the longest period, has probably more experience in terms of time above all of us who are here. So, Mr. Olowu, I'm going to ask you, sir, as a managing partner of one of Nigeria's leading law firms, can you kindly share your experience with brain drain in recent times and how this has affected your firm's projections generally?
Thank you, Maiwa, and good morning, my colleagues. I will start by saying that this brain drain we all speak about has been one of the most frustrating experiences I had as a managing partner of a firm. It didn't start recently. It has been on for some time. Initially, it was people going abroad to go and study, to get a master's degree, and from there, they seek employment and get employed and don't come back. But after COVID, the pace of jackpotting, if I might use that word, has increased. You now have situations where even partners are even leaving law firms in Nigeria to work abroad. Well, it's not a new thing to have foreign lawyers working in the UK and other countries because of the similarity of our legal systems. When I go to London these days and go for law firm visits, I'm met with several young associates Nigerians, and I always ask them, where did you study? Guinea Ben, EPOMA, UI. So how did you get to this firm? Oh, I came for a master's and decided to work in London. This brain drain issue affects most law firms, big law firms in Nigeria, and the impact is terrible. I will give you a simple example. You have a lawyer working with a client, you work with the client for several years, you've trained this lawyer, you sent him on courses, you sent him on trainings, he's developed a rapport with the client, then all of a sudden the lawyer says, I'm moving abroad. You need to replace that lawyer. So what we now find is that we now bring up people who are not as experienced as the lawyer to take over those instructions. And not always the best or the ideal situation. It's even worse when the partner leaves, because the partner has associates working directly under him or her. Once the partner leaves, what happens is that the associates that he has worked with in the firm are also looking up to the partner to please help them to jackpot. So it's a serious problem. It affects the firm. It affects the firm's culture. It also affects the associates. So I understand the economy is bad at the moment. Things are tough. There's insecurity. We have health challenges with the health sector. But this jackpot syndrome makes things worse. It affects the legal profession, it affects accounting, it affects medicine, and affects every aspect of society.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Lanet. Thank you very much, Lanet Silk, for your perspectives. You dwelled on economic reasons as one of the reasons why people are leaving in droves. I recall growing up as a child, circa 1984, the government of Nigeria had to go on a massive drive sensitizing people on the need to stay back in Nigeria and grow the economy. I don't know who remembers that jingle, Andrew, no check out, Nigeria go better. But we are where we are, and clearly socioeconomic circumstances are one of the reasons why people are living in droves. Otunwola, we're all aware of the state of the Nigerian economy. I would like you to share your perspective. You work primarily as an administrator, and you deal with these things on a daily basis. I'd like you to share the challenges peculiar to the Nigerian environment. And I would also like to say clearly whether there are factors that you've identified that entices Nigerian lawyers to migrate abroad.
Thank you, and good morning, MBA Lagos branch. All protocols observed. In answering your question, I think the first obvious one, Lanet Silk touched on it very, very quickly. I would say the economy is not smiling, as we like to see on the streets, you know. So because of this, because we have high rate of inflation, we have people struggling to meet their costs. So the first thing that I would say is the reason for this happening is the economic instability, you know, that we have in the country. Dovetailing from this also, of course, obviously, if the economy is unstable and we have high rate of inflation, we have high cost of commodity, rent is high, then compensation will not be adequate to meet the needs of people. So you have someone who is working as a lawyer and suddenly finds that what he's earning that is supposed to take him home, as we say in HR, is not taking him or her home anymore. So you start to look for greener pastures. And the greener pastures is almost not existent in Nigeria because everyone is facing the same situation. The economic situation that is biting the legal industry is also biting those in the finance industry to an extent, you know. So compensation is one. People say to you that they need to earn higher to be able to pay their bills, and it's a fact. It's something that we all know. Then again, another thing that I see that is the reason why people are migrating, so to say. The insecurity level in Nigeria is not lost on all of us. people are afraid to leave home early to get to work as early as they can because robbery is rife. Excuse me, robbery is rife. People are afraid of being kidnapped early in the morning. We've had gory stories. So just talking generally, on the larger scale about why people are being enticed to leave the country, are some of these things I've mentioned. Then again, to be sincere, and I speak with all sense of responsibility, compensation is a major factor. The legal industry, I dare say, is not exactly very competitive in compensation for lawyers. So beyond even migrating abroad, you find lawyers leaving law firms to go into other sectors of the economy, to practice because they want to earn higher pay. Again, I don't go to court, but the stories I've heard again is about the processes of the court processes and how things are done out there. So that alone also is enough to discourage lawyers in Nigeria when they know that outside the country it's smooth sailing. If you want to process a case, you find it easy. But here we have this challenge. And also in addition to that, again, you can also talk about the poor state of infrastructure. Even when law firms have started to embrace the flexibility of people working from home, you find out that power supply is nothing to write home about. You hardly have a good network, to connect on the internet to deliver whatever work that you have to deliver. So these are some of the reasons that I hear, that I see, that are causing people to migrate, that is affecting us in the legal industry. Now, to your second question about what I think is attracting them, right? So one high on the list is economic power, meaning we all know the current rate. I mean, naira to pounds is 1,900. 1,900. So whatever you are earning here, you cannot compare to what you would earn out there in pounds. If you go out there to earn in pounds or in dollars, converting to naira gives you much more. So that, I believe, is the major reason why not only in the legal industry, but across all sectors that we have people migrating. Then again, you can say perhaps people are looking for better opportunities for maybe complex transactions, maybe, will I say, complex cases or interesting cases that they will be exposed to. The exposure that they will get out there, in the Western world, perhaps, is also something that I believe is enticing them to leave. So I'll stop at that. And
yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Onodipe. You've identified issues bordering on compensation, infrastructure, and if I hear you correctly, specialization as an opportunity to specialize in different areas of the law abroad is one of the incentives. DG, you're a partner in one of Nigeria's leading law firms. Apart from the things that Mrs. Onodipe has identified, can you kindly share your views as to what you think attracts lawyers, especially lawyers who are going to practice abroad, and specifically not lawyers who are leaving to do something else, lawyers who are leaving to practice abroad?
Thank you very much, Mayawa. Also, thank you very much to MBA Lagos branch. For me, I think in talking about the reasons why people leave, or the incentives that excites people to leave Nigeria to practice abroad, I will give my own personal experience. So I see several reasons why people leave, particularly during exit interviews. First, either for family, so medical issues, or a spouse chooses to relocate. Second is for intelligent lawyers. They want to further their education, so they're going for masters. You want to go to an Ivy League school, Oxford, Cambridge. When I went to school about over a decade ago, it cost me, and this is public knowledge, in an Ivy League school, school fees would be $50,000. Then, that was 8 million naira. Today, it's 75 million naira. So it's difficult for an intelligent lawyer that's looking to further his or her education abroad to go and think of coming back. Because how are they going to repay the debts they incurred in undertaking the master's degree? How are they going to get compensated for the quality of further education that they've received? The third I see is lawyers, mid-level associates, senior associates working on international transactions, cross-border M&As, financing, that are already engaging international law firms. And so the international law firms know the capacity of those lawyers. So it's an easy conversation. Why? Because they're already doing the job. There's no new introduction. The lawyers already know what to do. They know the lawyer's capacity. And so it's easy to transit. In that instance, most times, what those lawyers look at is the pecuniary benefit. I'm sure 4 to 5 years ago, even if some of us on this panel were offered some of the amounts that lawyers are getting in Magic Circle law firms, we might have considered it. So you see, you're working in a top law firm and you are earning what you consider a decent pay in the Nigerian market, and you convert that to dollars, and it's a joke. And then you see the compensation benefits that has been provided by these Magic Circle law firms, and it's an easy discussion. And they even make it easier. They pay for relocation allowance, they relocate your spouse, everything. So it's just an easy transition to continue doing what you previously were doing in a different country. And because you see many more people in those countries, there's no nostalgia. So you walk into a top UK law firm, there are many Nigerians. So there's the easy transition. And then fifth has to do with globalization. And why do I say globalization? In our firm, one of the biggest recruiters is an e-platform company. I think in the last 2 years, they've taken 4 associates, all working in London. It means that because the lawyer's skills can be utilized in different ways, it's easy for transition. So the trainings that we get, which are subsidized by Nigerian universities, are then utilized on the global part for the benefits of the countries or the companies where these lawyers are working. So to summarize, it's a multifaceted incentive structure, either for better life, which is just the general macroeconomic situation we find ourselves in Nigeria, high inflation, significant devaluation, NPR is going off the roof, insecurity, to get good Medicare is poor. So it's all those incentives that make a more financially sustainable economy attract lawyers working in Nigeria or in sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you.
Deji, the way you summarize this thing, it looks like you're going to have to do a master class on how to jack back quickly, because you covered it pretty smoothly and summarized it. I can see a lot of young lawyers laughing on that side. I'm sure they're going to have to come and talk to you about that e-platform. But the essence of this session is to discourage us from jackpotting. So please, in case you were beginning to think that we're here to encourage you to jackpot, that's not why we're here. But we're being realistic about what faces us out there, and we have to say it as it is. I'm going to go to Temitope Shojuru now. She's incidentally the only in-house counsel that we have here. Temitope, in your experience, do you think that career progression is an issue, and that perhaps this incentive is based on the fact that our lawyers are not progressing as quickly as their counterparts who practice or work abroad?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. To answer your question, I think there is a slower rate of career progression here in Nigeria, though it might be difficult to generalize for every Nigerian lawyer because, we all have, we are all benefiting differently and our packages vary. But when you compare with our counterparts in the Western world, I think the economic factor, which has been highlighted by other participants, is a major thing. The currency rate, the exchange rate has been a problem, and it has affected us in even our purchasing power here in Nigeria. Another factor is the educational and training. It's expensive now to go for any training, to go do any course when you look at the exchange rate. So it's actually difficult to also improve on yourself because of the cost implication of these things. Another area is the regulatory environment. For me, I think the bureaucratic hurdles that we face, especially with the judicial system, the court systems have some level of inefficiencies, which we all know. I mean, how do you wake up early to go to court and to hear that your court is not sitting, haven't prepared for trial? You know, some of these things actually affect you, and it demotivates. At least I know it was one of the challenges I had when I started practice, and it was one of the reasons why I left practice as a lawyer and decided to go in-house. But then another major factor is the technology. I mean, the infrastructure in place in Nigeria, we all see situations where you're trying, even for regular Zoom meetings, since COVID, at least we've had to be doing things virtually. There are still challenges in that front, because sometimes you have to meet up with meetings online, and you're looking for network everywhere in the house or in the office, or you have to, you're in a meeting and suddenly the light goes off. You know, these are challenges, and it's been on for a while, and I think that's part of why it will affect you, even if you have to do trainings online, and these things are there, these challenges are there, so it's impossible for you to progress your career by improving on yourself. Remuneration plays a role. The people abroad earn better. Though, like I highlighted, it is difficult to generalize, but when you hear the rates they call as their earnings monthly or annually, you'll be like, oh. So it's a motivation to actually leave what you're doing here in Nigeria. And the infrastructure thing, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tim Tokwe. And thanks for sharing your perspectives. You specifically stated that the state of our courts is a factor, which brings me to something that you probably might have all have noted. We're in Lagos, it's the center of excellence, but unfortunately, if you look at the way our courts currently run and the challenges faced by the court system, it's very difficult to say that we have the center of excellence. You're all aware that currently the Lagos High Court would only put on their power generator at 10 a.m. And they would turn it off at 2 p.m. So technically that means that for a judge who comes on time, because some of them don't come on time, you would have only 4 hours of work. That's basically working at a pace that which you cannot do things, and you don't get job satisfaction from it. Career progression is an issue. A situation where you send an update to a client and you check the updates that you sent 18 months ago, you're still at the same stage of the proceedings, true to no fault of yours, just because there are bureaucratic challenges. It's not a general thing. That's for Lagos. Time there was that Lagos was the yardstick for measuring excellence in the administration of justice, but we don't have that currently. In Port Harcourt now, they file their processes seamlessly and online. In Lagos, they say we've gone online, but it's not completely true. There's still that level of human interface. So basically, it varies. I hear that cases in Sokoto, they finish trials in 3 to 4 days. It might be a function of the volume of cases that they're dealing with, but yes, these things are things that serve as a disincentive. And basically, for people who want better for themselves, they would probably think about porting and doing their thing somewhere else. Landon Silk, in your earlier comments, you stated that lawyers would start their immigration journey by saying they're going abroad to study. Naturally, we know why they do it. Do you think that the quality of our education is also a factor? I recall that I've heard people say that back in the day, University of Ife, when it was called University of Ife, not Obafemi Awolowo University, had a high number of foreign students from all over Africa who would come here to study. Unfortunately, the reverse is the case now. We're going everywhere. Do you think that the quality of education from our institutions is a factor?
Yeah. Thank you, Maiwa. We all agree here that education in Nigeria right now, especially the university education, is not at par with what's happening in most parts of the world. I'm not sure there's any Nigerian university listed among the 10 best universities in Africa. So what happens is that when people graduate and get employed in law firms, they feel there's a need to validate their first degrees by going for a master's degree. And this problem is also compounded by the fact that if you work in a big law firm, for example, probably see all your partners with one foreign degree or the other. So their natural aspiration would be to get a second degree. But when they go for that second degree, I'm not sure most of them come back. At least in my firm, I know those who have gone to universities abroad for second degrees, none has come back. It's not a bad thing that they don't come back. When they get work in those firms, they also refer work to us. It's not a bad thing at all. But the point is that our system of education is very, very poor. It needs to be improved. These students who leave universities in Nigeria with all the poor facilities, when they get abroad, where they have all the books, they have all the facilities available to them, always excel. And they become targets for employment by firms and companies abroad. So it's not a bad thing at the end of it. At the end of the day, there's still some good sides to it. But part of the brain drain has to do with the level of education we're getting in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Leonard Silk. Digi, I'm going to ask you the next question. Digi, I would like you to share your personal experience on how this mass exodus of lawyers and your ability to retain staff over time has impacted your firm's projections and development plans altogether.
No, that's a difficult one. I mean, let's be factual. The people seeking Nigerian lawyers, or the law firms seeking Nigerian lawyers, they don't go for the mediocre ones. They go for the best. What that does is that many top corporate law firms, like the one I work with, struggle to retain their best hands. It almost looks like if you don't go abroad, then you failed. And so it's difficult to continue to sell the dream to a young lawyer looking to aspire to be a partner, because they constantly ask themselves if they are making the right decision. And so when they leave, law firms struggle with providing the type of services that they've been used to. And why do they struggle? So for example, I act as company secretary to one of my clients, and I go to that meeting with an associate. Every year, I introduce a new associate. Thankfully, I've been in the firm for so long, so they are comfortable with me. But it's a bit embarrassing to go to a company that has 4 board meetings every year, and every year, the associate that follows me changes. It always makes it look like you're doing something wrong. And so there's that continuity of knowledge that is lost. There's that continuity of relationship that is lost. So what then happens is, and I'm sure this is across board, you see more partners rolling their sleeves and doing associate work. You see partners reading reports that they shouldn't be reading. You see partners with less time to sleep. So it makes it very difficult to grow in the manner in which law firms are projecting to grow. What other issues do we face? When your best hands leave, it's hard to motivate the other hands because they are probably as good as those that have left. But in the mind of those that are left, it's like they're doing something wrong. And so you have to increase the motivation. For us, we've also seen that about May every year, maybe 10, 15 associates leave. So you now have to plan towards it. You have to ensure that you increase the number of intakes, which comes at a cost. You have to ensure that you remunerate much better, which comes at a cost that the business may be unable to carry. So we are really struggling. I can't sit here and tell you otherwise. We're really struggling. This year, we changed our recruitment strategy, and a lot more people came in at the entry level than have ever come in the last 15 years that I'm aware of. So, Maiwa, Jackpot is hitting us.
Yes, Lance, if you can say something to that.
Also, at my firm, we used to take in about 10 new coppers every year. But because we know that in the second year, about 80% will have gone for masters or jackpot, we've increased the number to about 20. So we don't really need 20 lawyers at that level, but we are forced to take them and forced to find work for them, which is also a very big task. So we are spending more money on salaries, then we're also spending more time as partners teaching. You keep on teaching. At the stage you get tired. You teach somebody, he's been with you for 5 years, and he goes. You start that teaching again. It's the most frustrating exercise. Very frustrating.
Yeah, Lion, so thanks for sharing your personal experience. Ojola, they just stated what he considers to be their strategy for addressing this issue. You also consult for law firms and other organizations in recruitment. So, no, I'm talking to Mr. Onotikpe. Do you think that the quality of work and income of the firm is affected ultimately? Issues like the culture of your firm and stuff like that when you have such mass exodus. How do you deal with that kind of challenge?
Yeah, thank you. I think the first obvious impact then would be quality of service. Quality of service in the sense that when you have experienced hires who have expertise already in some certain aspects, some practice areas, when they leave, the quality of your service dwindles because the younger lawyers who are upcoming in knowledge, there's knowledge gap, let me just put it like that. So they cannot punch above what they know, you know. So you have that problem of delivering quality service to your clients. If you say, well, you know, some senior lawyers are still there, they can take it on, the partner can take it on, like Akinde just said, how much of work can the partners take on, you know, when you have this knowledge gap? Then again, you want to also look at the fact that for the younger lawyers who are coming, there's no, should I say, bridge. So you have the partners having to need to step down to the level of the entry level, for example, to begin to, like he said, like Lynette Silk said, you know, starting to teach all over again. So quality of service will be affected because by the time a partner takes on the workload of maybe what 2 middle-level lawyers would have taken on, I don't know how much of painstaking work that they are able to do. Even if they are able to do it, service delivery then, will also be affected. So yes, quality of service. And then what was the second thing you mentioned?
Work culture.
Okay, so work culture, yes, absolutely, and this is dear to my heart. Middle-level lawyers who have worked with you for so long have institutional knowledge. There's a certain level of maturity that comes with the number of years that they have practiced, with the exposure that they've had. So this institutional knowledge speaks directly to your culture. Because again, they are supposed to stand in that place where they mentor those who are upcoming. So where that gap is not there, then you begin to wonder, I mean, how many of the younger lawyers are able to have access to the partners who are most of the time on the road, out of the country, attending to clients and all of that. So culture definitely, it will erode culture. This exit, this brain drain will also erode the culture of the firm. So yes, indeed, it has severe effects. And that much we have seen in many law firms, and I speak advisedly regarding also my firm.
Yeah, thank you very much. Lanesil, this next question is for you. Basically, you would find that abroad, there's been an evolution in the way and manner law firms practice. If you look at all of the magic circle law firms in England, post-COVID, a whole lot of them started working fully remotely. And you find that it was very, very common for lawyers to only go in once a week. And I think that over time, they're finding it quite difficult to transit back to regular mode. I know that so many magic circle law firms in the UK have had to give up office space and square meters because they realized that basically they had mastered the art of working from home. And if you did a survey poll here now, I'm sure that several young lawyers will say, oh yes, we can do that. Why can't we do that here as well? I know a lot of law firms are already doing it partially. But the thing with that kind of thing is that ensuring that people do what they ought to do and efficiently becomes a challenge. Landisik, I'd like you to please address what we can begin to do differently to retain top talents in Nigeria. We know that it's a really hard thing to do, but certainly we can't give up. In your opinion, what can law firms in Nigeria and legal service providers begin to do to as an incentive to retain their top talents so that we can stem this tide?
Thank you, Maiwa.
If possible.
Yeah. In my firm, what we try to do is we have internships with foreign law firms where you can go, we post you to that law firm to work for about 6 months. So you get to meet foreign lawyers, work in their system for 6 months, develop some capacity, which you will bring back. But I tell you the truth, some we've sent didn't come back. So I'm not even sure that's the solution, because it's really, exactly, exactly. So we also send people for training. I give an example. Somebody we sent for a training, a quite expensive training in London. Came back. She went to 2 trainings. One was in London and one was in Singapore. And came back after 2 weeks, dropped her letter. We all outstanding. The issue is not really what we can do. I think it's a very difficult problem. As long as our economy is in the doldrums, there's not much you can do. You can send them to all the trainings possible. But once they get a better offer, people are going to move. We tried work from home, given the days off, work from home on these days. It's not changed anything, because the motivation is financial. Until our economy improves, until our legal markets gets deeper, we are going to face this problem for some time. That's what I think.
Thank you very much, Leonard Silk. So basically, it's a catch-22 situation. We're swimming against the tide. I remember that it was Mr. Koyejo of Jackson Edu who said something around me once and said that somebody had looked at him and looked at their budget for training lawyers for a particular year. And the person was like, oh, you guys are wasting money. You're spending all your profits training these lawyers. At the end of the day, you train them, they go. And he looked at the man and said his answer was simply, So if we don't train them, what are we going to have? You'll have mediocre lawyers, lawyers who can't compete. So basically, you want to remain top of the game, you need to keep training lawyers. So basically, there's very little you can do. Or can we begin to suggest that when you train lawyers, you make them sign retention agreements like pilots do to say they can't leave? Then they will come and meet you and say that you're involved in anti-labor practice. It's a very, very tricky situation.
This is June. We're in June. I can tell you in my firm, we spent over 500% increase on our training budget as of June this year. But people are still jackpotting. We spent over 500, we increased it by 500%. Trainings, cost of travel, and all that for lawyers in our firm. But after today, people are still dropping their letters. So it's not really a problem. It's really a problem of the economic situation and people's pockets. Yeah. And people, there are many reasons. I give one funny example. There was a lawyer who worked with us, a very good lawyer. Then the husband went to do his master's abroad, a lawyer too. He got a job in London. Then the next thing, the wife resigned. We didn't even know she's gone abroad. So I went for a visit to a law firm in London. I saw the husband. In fact, he introduced himself to me. I said, Mr. Hello, I'm the husband of so-and-so person. So that's why she jackpot. The man said yes. So the problem is very deep. It's not, law firms will do as much as they can to keep their talents. Partners can't do the work alone. That is so clear. I know that. You need people to help you. But the point is that until our economy improves, this is going to continue for some time.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to come to you now again, Temitope. The NBA, as a regulatory body, has a role to play in all of this. I'm aware that there's a remuneration order that is in place at the moment, which is basically to ensure that people pay their lawyers appropriately. So Tope, I'm going to ask you, is there something the NBA ought to be doing? Can they be doing more? And in addition to that, what is the role of the Nigerian government? Do you think government should be doing much more? And if you have any ideas on what we could do to stem this tide, kindly share with us.
Okay, thank you for that question. Yeah, I think the NBA has a major role to play, and also the Nigerian government. To put an end to the jackpot syndrome, I think we need to open up opportunities for lawyers. If incentives are created, learning platforms that are going to be affordable, and but I think the number one is the economy for the government. If the economy is improved upon, it becomes easier and bearable for everyone to stay. And the security situation of the country, those are the major reasons why people are leaving. And provision of good health care and all of that. If government plays its role by making all of these are basic amenities, things that we need to live. If they can all be in place, I'm sure that will reduce. And for the NBA, I mean, NBA can partner with the Nigerian government, create some level of opportunities, mentorship programs, succession planning from law firms, like just so that a staff or an employee knows that, okay, there's a plan for me, there's a career path. If I stay here, it would surely get better. But even if all of this is being done by NBA and by law firms, if the government doesn't do its own part, it would all go to waste. So it's the NBA that would come up with incentive programs, welfare programs that would encourage individuals and all of us as lawyers, so that we don't always see the opportunities there and then we are going there. They have their challenges too in that climb, but you know, it looks better. because of the economic situation of Nigeria. So MBA and Nigerian government can do some level of collaborative partnerships to open up the economy for lawyers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tope. During the course of my private engagements with the panelists there, I can't remember who it was that mentioned it. The size of this challenge is really big. The panelists said to us that one of their juniors had come in and come up with an offer that he had received from a law firm abroad. And the panelist said he looked at it and jumped up and said, when are you going? You know, and that they had to pray for the person and say, oh, we wish you all the best. We're not killjoys. We won't ask you to reject this kind of offer. So basically, you would find that we're fighting an uphill battle because the size of our economy, the size of our income, clearly shows that it's very difficult to stop people from trying to get a better life abroad or get better opportunities. DJ, I'm going to come to you now. It can't be all doom and gloom. Is there any ray of hope? Is it an hopeless situation? Are you saying that this is something that we can only look at from one angle? Kindly share your views on the projections for the future. Or positives.
I mean, so there are two options. You either look at the glass as half empty or half full. I always choose to look at it as half full. It's not all gloom. There are positives. What are the positives? There are opportunities that some of us are benefiting now that 15 years ago we might not have gotten. You see now every month, every firm is announcing, we are hereby congratulate the admission of Mr. So-so-so as partner. That's a reflection of JACPA because people's goals and dreams have to be met. Otherwise, they'll be poached. You see now that top corporate law firms, other law firms are increasing salaries. Many law firms are prioritizing rewarding their associates over making a profit. So even in years where there's no profit, people are still getting bonuses. You see law firms becoming a bit more adaptable to change. Many law firms now, if you go on a Tuesday, nobody's wearing suits. People are just wearing shirts, trousers. Some even go in jeans. You see law firms adapting flexibility. So 2 days on, 3 days off, you know. Those are things that 15 years ago we couldn't dream of having. I had to be at my desk at 8 o'clock, even if I got home at 4 a.m. So we've moved, right? And that's because it's a reaction to the current situation that we find ourselves. So there are positives, but the two most important positives for me is that law firms now have to start re-engineering themselves. We have to start thinking differently. And why do I say differently? You have to start understanding the impact of undercutting on this issue. Because when we undercut, what happens is the law firms then don't have enough revenue to be able to pay competing salaries to associates and senior associates. We also have to start re-engineering, as I said, the career progression. Things have to move faster. People have to focus on the work culture. It has to be better. Toxic bosses have to get out of the window. And we have to just be a bit more deliberate with employees, because a decade ago, the employers were kings. Today, the good employee is the king. Every time a good associate leaves my firm, it's like someone died. Because I know that I know the problems I'm going to have to face to train another good one. So it's like you have to keep that one sheep from getting away. So it's really challenging, but there's hope. But I leave this with the final thing about the positive side, is that these JACPA lawyers have been very kind to their their home base, they tend to throw instructions to us. So we are thankful to them. And that shows at least we're not bad people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deji. Odola, you want to say something about that as well?
Okay, just to add to all that Deji has said, I think that this might also be probably what is informing the recent rise in international partnerships and alliances. I mean, by the time law firms start to partner with the abroad law firms, as we say it, it gives people who are here a sense of that exposure. They get that exposure in terms of, transactions. And then perhaps it will serve as an incentive to desire to cross border. They desire it less, when they know that what they are going to look for in Sokoto is in the pocket of their Sokoto. They have alliances, they have exposure, and then they are mixing with, lawyers from other countries. So that's just one thing I would like to add to what Akindeji has said.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we're gradually coming to the end of our session, but I think it would be remiss of us not to allow questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, we're happy to take them. And you could specify which panelists you want to answer the question. Okay. Can somebody please pass the microphone to the gentleman raising up his hand in the middle of the hall? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Joshua Olorumare. I'm an associate at BNI. My question is general to any member of the panel. I'm just curious about the education system that we have as lawyers. And having listened to the panel, I do think that there is a gap in the understanding that a lot of us have as lawyers. Are people working because they want to make the latter is the case? Of course, there will always be a top-tier firm to aspire to. But if there is an education about impact, in some way, perhaps Nigeria offers a great opportunity for impact. I mean, a lot of things are not working here. And a lot of times, impact is mostly felt in societies where there are problems. And so maybe I'm curious to know if, from where we sit as leaders in the industry, there is that perspective that there is something there is a gap that can be bridged in our education system as lawyers, maybe in the Nigerian law school, where more emphasis is placed on impact in such a way that people leave law school and they are looking for problems to solve in the community, in the society, and in some way there is an incentive, natural fulfillment incentive towards that, and not necessarily wanting to work in top-tier firms or wanting to work with Oyibo man, if I would say so. Thank you.
But there was no question. So is there a question in there?
There was indeed a question. The question was, do we think from where we sit, do we think there is a gap that needs to be bridged? That was the question.
Okay, Deji, can you please take the question?
I ordinarily wouldn't have responded because we work together. But I think you need to look at one thing. A lawyer is either a social engineer or a social parasite. And the truth of the matter is, even if you want to create impact, you have to feed. So the economic realities can affect your decision, no matter what the education does to you. There are people that, I have a friend, and this is not even legal. She started up as a medical doctor, and she worked at Luth, and she saw the realities at Luth, and now she's a top-tier investment banker. When she started off, she wanted to make impact, but life said otherwise. So there's as much education can do. The realities will tell you. If tomorrow, Joshua, your salary is 25,000 naira a month, right? Will you think about impact?
Yeah, thank you very much, Deji. Can somebody please pass the mic to Mr. Lanema Shaun?
Can I say something in addition?
Oh, sorry, 1 minute. Lanema wanted to say something.
That's a very good question. But the point I'd like to make is that a hungry lawyer is not going to make any impact anywhere. And that's the point. That's basic. He spoke, Mr. Wolabi spoke about a lawyer who brought a letter of employment. It was brought to me. I saw the letter. This lawyer was making an impact in our firm. But when we saw the letter, we prayed for her. Please, go and take this job. But be our ambassador. That's what we told her. Be our ambassador. Because the pay is the kind of pay that bank MDs earn. Which law firm in Lagos can afford that? Which law firm? Tell me. So the truth is that if you are hungry, there's no impact anywhere. You will settle your personal problem first.
Thank you very much, sir. Can somebody please pass the mic to Ms. Animasha? We'll come back to you shortly, sir.
Thank you very much. With this syndrome of Jakpa, the opposite is Jakpada. We are looking forward because it's not that easy. Like somebody like me, I don't like living abroad, no matter what they want. I want to visit and come back home. There are a lot of things. We just pray that Nigeria will be better. Now we have identified this as a problem, and that's why we are all here. But it's not everybody that has the opportunity of moving abroad. Imagine all of us going abroad. This is just MBA Lagos. So I want to ask you, what role do you think MBA can do for those that are here, people like me, and those people that don't have the opportunity to japa? Let's do something here, at least for people to be comfortable and not start dreaming. I've heard of people that have traveled, borrowing money and everything, and because they are working tirelessly, they ended up dying. So what role? Charity begins at home. Little drops of water can make a mighty ocean. Thank you.
Sorry, before they answer that question, Mr. Animasha, you said people like you. You are an established person. You know that thing they say, you have established. So it's for people who are not at your level. Mrs. Onodipe would take the question.
Yes, I think that, in my opinion, MBA has its role to play. And I don't know how far they can go in terms of regulation, but ensuring that law firms are conducive for people. There are many law firms in this country, well, let me just start with Lagos, that are quite toxic. And when lawyers or employees, for whatever reason, have anything to say or if they need to speak up, I don't know if there is a platform for them in the association. So it's essential that we look at situations like that. And then I know that MBA, nationwide, MBA, the larger body, has looked into pricing in terms of client services. But there is also need for them to look at the salaries, the compensation for lawyers. In as much as we are unable to compete with the international law firms, there's a need to ensure that lawyers are well compensated. For those who are staying behind, is there an incentive for not jackbuying? Is there something to look forward to? And I know that in the course of discussion by one of the panelists, we had mentioned something about ensuring that there's career growth, there's progression for them. How do you join a law firm and it takes you 30 years to become a partner or 20 years? I'm just saying. Whatever happened to ensuring that you have a very good structured performance management system in place that ensures that as you are working, you are getting commensurate reward and commensurate advancement in your law firm. So these are a few things that I believe that MBA can begin to look into. I don't know if it's through regulation or through encouraging or having discussions like this that speak to managing partners or partners of law firm so that they can do the needful and encourage those who are behind. I hope I spoke a little to what Ms. Animasha wanted to hear.
So we'll just take one last question. You can take the mic, sir.
Thank you, Maiwa. And I want to talk about something we have not been talking about. Only mentioned the issue of the judiciary. The judiciary to me is part of the question of even jackpot or not jackpot. Because you have a case, like she said, she had to leave because of what she saw the judiciary was doing. You have a case, they don't tell you, go to court, waste your day, and nobody. But what is the NBA doing? Nobody has addressed this. We keep talking and talking, and nobody has even come to say, this is what NBA should do to correct this thing. And this is the relationship we have to have with the judiciary for us to have a good case management. I mean, a situation where you go to court and you waste your whole day and nothing happens, or your case stays 17, 18 years, and the same case keeps going on, the judges change, you start de novo, is very frustrating. So what is the NBA doing? We need to address the issue of the NBA, helping us to make sure that the judiciary keeps to time, informs us when case is not going to hold on and all that. So what is the relationship? What is the NBA going to do to help us solve this problem? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll take a shot at that question, sir. The truth is that we have a problem that I think is evolving and is evolving in the manner that solutions are on the front burner. The Judicial Relations Committee of the branch would conventionally every now and then meet with the administration of our judiciary to tell them what the feedbacks are. I am aware that there is a section of this law week that is dedicated to that session. We will continue to interrogate them. Time there was that these things used to happen quite rampantly, but it would be remiss of us not to say that several courts in Lagos now have a system where they notify us. The registrars of court have WhatsApp groups in which they would publish the cost list for the week, and for some of them who we continue to encourage, they would notify you that my Lord Honorable Justice blah 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 is not going to sit tomorrow. So it's not all of them. Hopefully we will get there. Are they doing enough? Not just yet. We need to hold them accountable because invariably it saves us time, saves real value. So your point is well noted, sir. And I know that the administration of Bisima Konjola is actually working assiduously towards ensuring that we have a seamless relationship with the judiciary and that the issues that we have are being addressed. There's a judge of the High Court of Lagos State who, up until recently, would lock out lawyers and say that our cases are time scheduled. But the truth of the matter is that the scheduling that she does is not effective. If she schedules you for 10 o'clock, sometimes she's not there until 11 herself. I recall seeing Lanet Silk, Mr. Tunde Olowu, in the corridor of that court, and he was complaining bitterly because he had to sit outside there. Lawyers had to sit on a bench in front of this court. I think most of us know the particular judge I'm talking about. And you sit in a dingy hall there waiting as if you're at some maternity clinic in Agege, waiting to go in to have your matter called. I'm hoping that, I understand that complaints have been made about that particular judge, and hopefully things will get better. Ladies and gentlemen, we've run out of time. It's been a pleasure moderating this session. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, before we go, the chairman of the Law Week Planning Committee, Ms. Falashade Ali, SAN, would like to say something. Can somebody please pass the mic to her?
Let me just say mine. Okay. Well, just to let everybody know that I'm not Jackman anywhere. I'm here.
This is to the panelists and to all of us. Very, very interesting discussion. But I think there's a need for all of us here to really ask ourselves, we're lawyers. It's a service we're rendering. By the end of the day, the first question is, we're not regulated. That's why any law firm can just pay their staff any amount and nobody really talks about it. There's a need for us at this forum to have a takeaway. In England, they regulate law firms. Nobody checks my books. Accounts are not looked into. I can pay my lawyer. I mean, I use myself always as an example. I have twins. And I recollect when my children finished, they're boys. they finished at the same time. One is a lawyer, and the other one was an accountant. And he was paid in one of the big law firms better than what I pay my lawyers, but what I thought was good. I think was being paid, like, it was offered maybe 150,000, which was a lot of money then. But my other son, first year, Youth Corps, 1.2 million from an investment bank. Obviously, my son, after a while, decided, and is no longer a lawyer anymore. At the end of the day, the truth is that we cannot continue to just sit down here and allow all our best talents to leave the country and we think it's in order. It isn't. We don't pay our lawyers well. That's the bottom line. And nobody's regulating us. I know what my staff, I know what I would like to pay my staff. I honestly believe that the economy has a role to play in it. And until the economy is fixed, we will continue to have the brain drain. But our profession is pathetic. Accountants, lawyers, doctors are not paid well. What are we doing? What are we going to do to ensure that that narrative changes? There's a need for the legal profession to regulate us and to actually check our books. Accountability is extremely important. We're not accountable to anybody. Any law firm can do whatever they like and is in order. That, for me, must stop. Thank you.
We couldn't have a better closing charge. Thank you very much, Lynette Silk.
Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Please let us once again appreciate our panelists. Please let's put our hands together for them. I know that someone said after Jakpa is Jakpa da. And overall, we hope that the economy of our country gets better, and that way we're able to remunerate better and keep our best talents here. Please let's put our hands together for Mr. Akinjide Oyebode, partner, Banwo and Igodalo. Please let us also appreciate Ms. Odunwola Onodipe, lead operating manager, Detail Commercial Solicitors. Please let us also appreciate Temitope Shoderu, Deputy Manager, Legal Services, FBN Mortgages Limited. And let's also please appreciate Leonard Silk, Mr. Adedapo Tundeolowu, Managing Partner, Alex. Thank you very much. And of course, to our moderator who has steered our conversation this morning, Mr. Mayowa Owolabi, Senior Partner, Pistis Partners LLP. A round of applause as we appreciate them all. Thank you very much, sirs. I'd like to invite the chair of our branch, Mr. Bisima Konjola, and of course the chair of the planning committee for pictures with our distinguished panelists and moderator. Can we please put our hands together for the chair of the branch, Mr. Bisima Konjola, and the chair of the planning committee, Mrs. Folashade Ali SAN, as they come up to take pictures. I feel this is the side of the hall applauding. I know this side of the hall also enjoyed the conversation, yes or yes. So please let us keep the applause coming. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please let's stay. To present tokens of appreciation to our panelists, please welcome with me Leonard Silk, Mr. Ayodele Akintunde SAN. A round of applause for him as he comes up stage. Please let us keep clapping. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. First, we have the plaque for our moderator, Mr. Mayowa Owolabi, Senior Partner, Pistis Partners LLP. A round of applause, please. Please, can we also have other members of the executives of NBA Lagos branch? Would like to have you upstage as well, those of us that are present. Next, we have the award for Mrs. Odunola Onodipe, Lead Operating Manager, Detail Commercial Solicitors.
Thank you very much, Odunola, for your useful contributions. We totally enjoyed you.
Please let's put our hands together for Mrs. Temitope Shoderu. Please let us put our hands together for her. As these awards are coming, please let's have our excos also come up stage.
Thank you very much, Temitope Shoderu, for your very useful insights and contributions.
Thank you very much. Please let's appreciate our panelists, our moderator, our excos as they head back to their seats. Let's put our hands together for them, please. I'd also at this point in time like to appreciate our sponsors. We know that we have had a lot of work go into the planning and the execution of the NBA Lagos Law Week 2024, and this has only been made possible because some people have partnered with us to make that happen. So ladies and gentlemen, please appreciate with me Platinum and headline sponsor ND Western Limited. A round of applause, please, for our sponsor, ND Western Limited. Our diamond sponsors, Banwo and Igodalo, ALN, Aluko, and Oyebode. A round of applause, please, as we appreciate our sponsors. Thank you. Let's also appreciate our gold sponsors, and I must mention that we had the firm of Adedeji Owotomo and Associates sponsor and come up to partner with us just yesterday. So please, a round of applause for the firm of Adedeji Owotomo and Associates and our other gold sponsors, Pan Ocean Group, Olaniwa Ajayi LP, Folashade Ali and Associates. Please let us keep the applause coming. Thank you. Dangote Cement PLC, Africa Law Practice NG and Co, Paul Usora and Co. Thank you very kindly. A round of applause once more for our sponsors. Thank you very much. I'd like to let us know that to your right-hand side of the hall, we have a booth where free health checks can be taken. So if you'd like to have your vitals taken or any health checks or concerns at all, we have a booth from Iwosan Lagoon Hospitals. Please head over there for your free healthcare checks.